We begin now with Marines who are now positioned in the Los Angeles area. President Trump deployed 700 Marines to L.A. and another 2,000 National Guards troops to L.A. in order to protect federal buildings and employees amid the ongoing protests against ICE operations. Now, that brings the total number of National Guards troops to 4,000 in the county. The Pentagon says deploying the support to Los Angeles will cost $134 million. And as the additional military support arrives, President Trump told members of the press he isn't ruling out the use of the 1807 Insurrection Act in Los Angeles.
The most important story of our time is this one. What is this country going to allow him to do? This is an attempted authoritarian overthrow of the United States Constitution and the U.S. government, the attempted imposition of a dictatorial regime. That is clear. That is unambiguous. I think it is unquestioned. I think there are very few people on any side of American politics who would contend with that. The question is whether it will work. The strength of the movement against him is what will determine our fate as a country. And what we are seeing over and over again in what I believe is the most important story in the country, what we are seeing over and over again is that protesting against him works. That he wants to seem strong, but he is not that strong.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Rachel Maddow just revealed the absolute sure sign that Donald Trump is in full-blown panic mode. Now, we're not talking about a little bit of paranoia here. We're not talking about Trump pacing around the West Wing chewing his Big Mac too fast. No, this is a full-on panic attack.
I mean, as of Saturday night, Trump had started fulminating against the protests in Los Angeles. He had announced that he would federalize the National Guards, the first time a president has done that against the wishes of a state's governor in 60 years. And when it was done 60 years ago, it was to protect civil rights protesters, not to threaten protesters with military force. But, you know, Trump panicking like that, the response of the American people to it has been exactly what you'd think.
When Rachel Maddow uses phrases like trenchant and joyful, sustainable opposition, what she's really saying in her classic measured MSNBC tone is this: Donald Trump is losing, and losing badly. Let's be honest, he's not winning, he's not surviving, he's not even treading water. The man is sinking like a gold-plated rock. Think about this, barely 6 months into his second term, and he's already the most hated, most sued, and most indicted president in modern U.S. history. This guy is a definition of corruption, the epitome of criminal intent.
That is what you get when you have a supposed leader, a supposed strongman even, who can't figure out how to get the support of his people. And he knows it. That is what you get when you have a weak president, an unpopular president who sees the people are against him, who can't defend his actions, who is losing support over time and not gaining it, even on the issues where he thinks he's supposed to be strongest. This is a president who has no other ideas and no skills to get him out of this political pickle that he is in, and who has therefore rushed right to the end.
It's obvious. His poll numbers are cratering. He's literally broken his own records for lowest approval ratings. Historians aren't debating it anymore. They've ranked him as the worst president in U.S. history. That's not speculation. That's fact. Globally, he's despised. Domestically, he's in full downward spiral. And yet, in Trump's little fantasy world, everything's great. The economy's great. Inflation's fixed. The streets are calm. Sure, buddy. Whatever you have to tell yourself. You're like that dog in the meme sitting in a burning house saying, "This is fine," or like a kid whistling in the dark hoping the monsters don't notice. That's what delusion looks like. But now he's trying to drag the whole country into it with him.
Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat of defunding them, at threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past.
Trump has no freaking idea how to respond to the protests in Los Angeles. Protests sparked directly by his own immigration raids. Not some outside incident, not a third-party provocation. His administration's own actions. So what does he do? Does he address the issue? Try to meet with California leadership? Respect constitutional norms? Well, of course not. He does the one thing every authoritarian does when they feel cornered. He sends in the military. Now, there's a legal process for deploying the National Guard. It's supposed to happen at the governor's request, not just because a wannabe dictator is having a meltdown on Truth Social. The only other time a president deployed troops without a governor's request was in 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson, Alabama. He did it to protect civil rights protesters from being brutalized. But Trump's not doing this to protect anybody. He's doing it to intimidate Americans, just like he did at Standing Rock in his first term. This time, he's doing it to terrorize immigrants, to send a message that if you're not white, if you speak out, or if you question him, you're going to face the full force of the United States military. Because in MAGA world, immigrants are subhuman. They're not people, they're criminals. They don't deserve rights, they don't deserve safety. They deserve to suffer forever because they crossed a border. But when it comes to their cult leader, their orange messiah, he gets a free pass. Convicted of felonies? No problem. Sexual abuse liability? Forgiven. Fraud, tax evasion, obstruction of justice? But he fights for us. This is America under Trump, a place where people protesting injustice get labeled insurrectionists, and a man who actually incited an insurrection gets a parade and a military budget. And here's where Rachel Maddow doesn't just reveal Trump's panic. She absolutely proves it. They have Donald Trump on camera saying the president can't just send in troops unless a governor asks for it. And guess what he's doing now? Exactly that. So what changed? Well, nothing. Except now Trump's thrown out even the pretense of playing by the rules. He's decided that the Constitution, Congress, and even the courts don't matter. That he's the law. He's the authority. He's the dictator. And Maddow and O'Donnell pointed out something else. The advisors have changed. In his first term, Trump had people around him who knew at least how the government worked, even if they were shady as hell. He had lawyers, generals. He had people like Mad Dog Madison, John Bolton, and even William Barr. And yeah, they all bailed or turned on him. Mattis literally called Trump a threat to the Constitution. Rex Tillerson called him an effing moron. And now he's got nothing but bootlickers, yes men, people who nod along while he wipes his feet on democracy. These people aren't stopping him. They're encouraging him. Maddow lays it bare. If Trump is acting like a dictator, it's because no one around him has the spine to say no. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Because now, when he asks, can I send troops to crush protesters? The answer isn't that's illegal. The answer is do it. Prove you're tough. It's a pattern. The more laws he breaks, the more his inner circle treats that as proof of strength. The more constitutional lines he crosses, the more they cheer. And here's what that tells us. The courts might slow him down. Congress might slap his hand. But the only real resistance left is the people. The protests, the dissent, the voices in the streets. Those are what terrify Trump the most, which is why he's panicking now. Because the No Kings protests planned this week, they're not just about immigration. They're about the creeping dictatorship. They're about the broken norms, the dismantled checks and balances, the reality that Trump isn't joking anymore. And he's already playing his biggest cards. Military force, mass arrests, authoritarian threats, and he's not even 6 months into this term. As Maddow says, we're getting the test early, and Trump is failing. This isn't a drill. This is a stress test of our democracy and the crack facts are absolutely showing. Trump's already declared that he'll be a dictator on day one. He's already promised to terminate parts of the Constitution. He's already sent troops against civilians. What more do we need to believe him? The guardrails are gone. He's surrounded himself with loyalists, not leaders. He's replaced facts with fantasies. And the only thing keeping his boot off the throat of democracy is public pressure. People showing up, speaking out, refusing to comply with a tyrant's script. So here we are, as Maddow put it. The test is happening now, and he's failing. The only real question left is, will we? And that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.